to get out of the country if it's possible for them as well. And then the reports, this was really interesting, the senior colonels from the Libyan military apparently defecting to Malta after they were ordered to bomb protesters. That was in Benghazi, in the second city in Libya, where warplanes certainly were being used, because two of them left. They instead landed in the capital, Valletta, the capital of Malta, in just the past few hours. It's only about an hour or so away from Tripoli. Now, what else are we hearing? This is just coming in from Reuters. Bear with me one moment. The Libyan Deputy Foreign Minister denying that Muammar Gaddafi has fled to Venezuela. That's coming out on Libyan state television, so correlates with what the Venezuelans were telling us, that Muammar Gaddafi has not fled the country as was originally reported. Now, AlJazeera has managed to contact an eyewitness in the city of Tripoli. Described pretty dire situation in the city. Have a listen to this.
What we are witnessing here today is unbelievable. We have never seen anything like this before. Now there is an aerial bombardment all over the city, even in the alleys. In the Fashloon neighborhood, our neighborhood where I am, there is an aerial bombing, intense shelling. This is a very small area with a population of no more than 10,000. We try to help the injured people, but there are too many of them, and anyone who dares to go out to help is being shot at by mercenaries and snipers. Now, this is more than people can take. What do the Libyan people want? They need help. They need urgent help. People are crying. Death is everywhere. Why is the world silent on these atrocities? Why? This is the question. Why the Arab countries are keeping silent? Why? Within the next few hours, the entire Libyan population can be wiped out if this continues. Death is everywhere, shelling everywhere. Can anyone live like this? It is a revenge attack against the Fashloon neighborhood. This is the area where the revolution erupted in the city of Tripoli. This is a revenge attack against the people here.
So really emotional account. You listen to it there from someone on the ground in Tripoli talking about the attacks on people there. Correlates with what we've heard from other people of, as they describe it, mercenaries firing live rounds indiscriminately in the street. That was someone we spoke to in Tripoli. Worth pointing out that since then communication's been very, very, very difficult. Phone lines pretty much cut, wireless services, I guess that means internet and mobile services as well, cut as well. So it's tough to get information out at the moment. Twitter is very interesting, but a lot of it unconfirmed sorts of things that are coming through. We keep an eye on that. Also, I want to take you to some more international reaction as well. We heard about Britain's reaction, its foreign minister speaking earlier. Iran's supreme leader, this is Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has blamed the uprisings in the Arab world on American foreign policy. Speaking to Muslim scholars at a so-called unity conference in Tehran, he described the series of mass uprisings as a, quote, awakening movement even. He also blamed what he called resentment towards the arrogant powers in the region.
The first effect of this awakening is expressing resentment towards the presence of the arrogant powers in the region. Americans and American policy try to get away from the repercussions of these great movements, which are ongoing in many Islamic countries through propaganda. But this is not possible because these movements are mainly against the presence of the arrogant powers.
Another international development, South Korea actually, where the foreign minister said hundreds of Libyans stormed a South Korean-operated construction site. At least 17 people reportedly injured near Tripoli.
As with the Egyptian incident, South Korea's Land, Transport and Maritime Affairs Ministry is preparing to send special flights to the site if necessary. There are several South Korean construction camps in the Benghazi area. We have selected the largest and safest camp and chosen it as the safety shelter. We have taken measures so that South Korean people can all move and evacuate to the camp in case anything happens.
And reacting to events in Libya, the Secretary General of the Arab League, Amr Moussa, said he and his colleagues are extremely concerned. Have a listen. We don't have it. You can't have a listen at the moment. That's the reaction, though, from the Arab League. That's Amr Moussa. Who else can we hear from? William Hague, the British Foreign Minister, who was at a meeting of EU foreign ministers. And I'm told again we don't have that one either. Right, where shall we go now? Let's have a look at a map, actually. Let's put it into perspective for you, where the unrest is happening in Tripoli. First of all, we go down into Green Square, the centre of heavy clashes between government forces and protesters overnight. The General People's Congress, or Parliament, is here, a little bit further south in the city. That was reportedly on fire on Monday morning. And then we move across to the army barracks, again further south. Colonel Gaddafi's son warned that the armed forces would enforce security at any price. And the airport, where foreign embassies and companies are getting ready to evacuate their staff. That's a lot further south in Tripoli. Very important part of the city as well. Latest pictures from Benghazi. These will probably be about 3 or 4 hours old now. They're in daylight now. These pictures are in daylight, I should say. Now it is 8:30 in the evening in Libya. This is Benghazi, the second city in Tripoli, where the violence has continued. Even though we have focused more on the capital, certainly the violence has continued in Benghazi, which is where it all started. Stay with these pictures for a while because they do tell an interesting story just past this immediate vision of, well, it's chaos again, isn't it? Injured people being carried from the scene, black smoke in the sky, ambulances on the ground as well. And on it goes in Benghazi and in Tripoli as well, as we've pointed out earlier. I've got Ibrahim Jibril in the studio with me, who's joined us, a Libyan political activist. Just as you watch these pictures, Ibrahim, what are you thinking? I know that's a really broad question, but when you're seeing this violence ongoing in Benghazi...
I'll be honest with you, part of me is optimistic because these are signs of the end. These are signs that things have come to a head, and we are witnessing the last few blows of this dying regime.
Okay, what are you basing that on, though? Because an earlier guest said this to me as well. He said he felt it was the beginning of the end and it was the regime crumbling. I wonder if it's a little bit too early to be saying that. Just to be conservative.
Yeah. These are desperate measures that you're looking at. You don't see any government. You don't see any rational government, or even irrational government at that, bombarding its people the way Gaddafi and his thugs are bombarding these innocent people. You don't see regimes using heavy, high-caliber rounds to shoot at civilians who are just protesting in the streets. It's reflecting a high level of insecurity and anxiety and desperation.
I think that's an important word, desperation, because bottom line is that the government, the military, the regime, whatever you want to call it, is firing on its own people.
Yes.
And that's a major thing for any government to do, no matter what anyone thinks of them, to fire on your own people who you are supposed to serve and protect.
Now, the new twist on this is the fact that this government is not only firing on its own people, but it's hiring people to fire on its own people. So this is
the mercenaries which we've heard about, as they're described.